How about the blueberry muffin story? Are you aware of that? That's something that Skip had spent a lot of time on earlier this year on his podcast. Apparently, during an early episode of First Take, Stephen A. Smith complained that there were no blueberry muffins at a road show.
We were in Miami for the NBA Finals. Yeah. Well, we were in Miami for the NBA Finals, and he was a new regular addition to the show, even though he had worked as a rotationary fill-in for Woody Page in the past. All of the back and forth that allegedly happened, according to Skip, between Skip and Stephen A, that was between them, and I was not privy to any of that. Yes, I was in the morning meeting. Yes, there was always constantly discussion about what was available for eating. Woody, I believe it was, I hope I get this right. I think Woody kind of used to roll his eyes at Skip's dietary needs for some of the food. It was kind of diva-ish stuff, that I never even really cared about or got involved in. I didn't care. If I wanted something to eat for breakfast, I would stop and get it at a Starbucks and bring it myself.
Right.
I don't know if what part of that story is true, but here's the beauty of Skip. Skip tells that story on his podcast, and he has all of us on the edge of our seat for 30 minutes. And if you really think about it, it's such a trivial, mundane thing. And I know Skip was trying to tell that story to sort of make a point. Like Stephen A came in and wanted diva treatment. I never saw that. I just didn't. I mean, he can be very difficult at times, Stephen A. I think sometimes he's kind of moody, and some of the staff would kind of come in and gauge, is he in a good mood? Can I say this today? So he was a little temperamental that way. Skip stayed to himself. For the most part, Skip was kind of on an island. He would stay in his dressing room, and then he would come out for the show, and then he would go home. And he never went out with us as a group after the shows or for dinners at night. He just is he's just a private person that feels most comfortable when he's working out or watching sports. That's what his loves are, and that's it. And I think with that whole story, I texted both of them. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, really? And Stephen A, I think, had called me and said, no, we're good. Everything is good. But there was a period in time where, there were some feathers that are ruffled. Now, with some of the recent developments now, where Shannon is now with Stephen A on First Take. And I just read recently that First Take's ratings are up, and
Undisputed.
Undisputed. I'm sorry, Skip. Undisputed's ratings are down. I don't know if that's true. I did read something like that recently. I imagine that there's probably, that is probably escalated, and I'm not sure that that they're as friendly as they always have been. But one thing I marveled about the two of them was the fact that when you get egos and personalities that are that big, usually the egos overtake the relationship. And it never did with those guys. They loved each other like brothers.
Really?
They had a mutual respect for one another that I hadn't seen in any of our pairings. We had hundreds of different pairings. We would have the Two Live Stews in. We'd have Rob Parker in. We would have this long list of rotating guests to debate Skip. But there was no one with a personality as big as Skip until Stephen A came. And watching up close, I was watching to see, is there going to be a relationship and personality problem here? Because now Skip's got his equal is on the set with him. And it was always understood that Skip was the alpha and everybody else was kind of, subordinate to Skip. And Skip was really, he genuinely loves Stephen A, and Stephen A genuinely loves him. Their egos never got in the way when they worked together. Now, some things may have happened since that time where the relationship might be a little different, but those guys, I marveled at how well they got along and that it was real. Because I wasn't sure that it was at first, but the longer I worked with them, the more I realized, man, these guys really respect one another. And I'm surprised that they ever broke up, because I thought neither one of them is going to want to do the show without the other. It became like they were a pair and that they just have to be together. There's partner equity going on there. And I think ultimately Money gets involved. Skip was lured away by Fox and our coordinating producer, Jamie, who at the time had left to go to NBC and then ended up at Fox, and he's not there anymore, but he pulled Skip along with him. When he came into our show, he made it very clear to everybody, Skip's the star. Everybody else bow to Skip. And that was a big dynamic change for everybody on the show. And I think Skip started listening to Jamie. Jamie would tell him, Skip, you're the star. You should be treated differently. But Skip never demanded different treatment. He never, demanded to be treated like a star. How things are at Fox, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But, Skip deserved all of that. The show did revolve around him and his opinions. And, once we went all in on that, it became a show that I wasn't interested in doing anymore. But I can certainly see why it had wide commercial appeal. And Skip's payroll and salary today, he's earned every penny of it. And the same goes for Stephen A. with his at ESPN. Those guys move the meter. And there's very few guys in our industry that move the meter, but they do.
Yeah, their current dynamic is super interesting. Like Stephen A. loves to make it out to be this rivalry. But he always prefaces it by stating how much love and respect he has for Skip.
And it's real.